dementia should be supported like any other disease. If you have cancer, heart disease or diabetes, you get support on the NHS. The same should happen with dementia. Why shouldn't it be that way? So we need to redress that imbalance and make sure that there's the funding to support wherever possible. The other challenge is a challenge, I think, for voices, the dementia voices that Alzheimer's Society promotes, the Three Nations Dementia Working Group. And you are wonderful people, and I take my hat off to all of you. But essentially, you are not representative, because the majority of people with dementia probably couldn't engage in this room, in this kind of discussion. And we've got carers here, and carers are part of the we, but the interests of carers are not always the same as the interests of the person with dementia. So whilst we can say this is a celebration of empowerment and personalisation and the opportunity, always rattling in my mind is to make sure that reaches to the people who aren't in this room, the people who are dumped, and I use the word advisedly, dumped in care homes and then forgotten about. The care home I went to visit, it was airbrushed out of the local community. They had no connection with the local community. The people who are in BAME and other communities where dementia isn't even talked about and don't get even on the first step of the ladder of the proper NHS and social care support. The people who live alone at home, around a third of people with dementia live alone at home and aren't on our radars at all. How do we make sure their voices are heard? So today is the beginning of a great new chapter in personalised support for people with dementia. But the two things, as I say, that I want us to keep in mind is firstly, making sure that the funding is not just NHS, but reaches across health and social care to end that travesty. And secondly, to make sure that the voices of the dispossessed, if you like, the people whose voices aren't heard, are heard with and through all of us as well. But thank you for being part of what I really believe is a really important day for people with dementia, not just in this country, but as an example around the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Right, next up we have James Sanderson, Director of Personalised Care for NHS England and Improvement. Usually I have the funkiest pair of glasses in the room, but I'll take a silver medal today. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. It's great to be here this afternoon. What a fantastic group of people in the room to engage in discussion about this really important topic. And I want to talk a little bit about personalised care and why that's important to the NHS and how that fits in to the work that we're doing. I'm really conscious of the fact that there's lots of people in the room that have heard me speak recently, so I'm really, really sorry that you're going to hear a lot again from me. Can I start with a question? If you can raise your hand, can you put your hand up if you love to be excluded from decisions that impact on the most sensitive and intimate aspects of your life? That's quite consistent with the times that I've asked that question. But it's really interesting, and actually we don't always get this right. And I think if you look at the recent surveys that we've got, the recent NHS survey, 46% of people say they've not been involved in their care and support in the way in which they would want to be. And, you know, something's not right. We've got to fix that. When we do involve people, 43% of people say they don't understand the health information that they're provided with. And 40% of people living with long-term conditions say they don't feel that they've got the skills, knowledge and confidence to live in the way and achieve the aims that they want to achieve. And we've got a fantastic bit of technology that can fix that. And that bit of technology that I talk a lot about is conversation. And an amazing, inspirational line from the poem that Ronald took us through. If you don't hear me, how are you going to know? And actually, we need to engage with people in a different way. We need to engage with people so that we know what matters to them, so that we know what expertise they bring to their own care, because clinicians will always be experts in conditions or diseases, but people are experts in themselves. We've all lived with ourselves for a long period of time. And we've got to get that conversation back into the system. We've got to get that conversation back into the way in which we deliver care and support, so that we can tailor services specifically to meet the needs of individuals. And that's where personalised care comes in. When we talk about personalised care, what we mean by personalised care is that we're giving people choice and control over the way their care is planned and delivered. And that's based on what matters to them and builds on the assets that they bring to their own care. So this isn't just about treating people nicely. This isn't just about being person-centred. This is about specifically tailoring the services that we deliver to meet the specific needs of an individual. And that's quite important. And when we've looked at the opportunities for how we do this, we found that there's some fantastic practice in personalised care across the country. There's some great pockets of activity, but actually that's been somewhat fragmented. And it's grown up in isolation of other programmes that could support people. And I think the big challenge for today, one of the challenges, I know Jeremy set a number of challenges, but it's how we break down those boundaries and barriers, how we work together across systems, how we learn the best practice, how we steal the good things, how we stop being stuck in this world of perpetual post-its where we love discussing what good looks like, but we can't move out of that room and actually deliver what is good. And I think that's a real challenge around how we move this agenda on. So we've designed what we call our comprehensive model for personalised care, which is this triangle, which I think a lot of people may have seen. This starts to articulate the things that we know are going to make the biggest difference in the NHS to enable personalised care to really thrive. And as we've said, we think that applying this model to support people living with dementia is going to unlock some really great opportunities for us that we've only started to scratch the surface of. The next diagram, which is our operating model, I'll just very briefly talk you through a number of the aspects on here. We want every clinical conversation in the top left-hand corner of this model to start with shared decision making. We want to make sure that clinicians are actively sharing that decision and there's an equal partnership around how that decision is made, around the care and treatment options that are available to somebody. We would then want to ensure that we're giving people choice and control of those care and treatment options, and an active choice. Not just, do you want to go to hospital A or hospital B for your treatment? A range of services, a range of options that are available to the individual, and making sure that the person is fully informed by the options that they have available to them. When we do shared decision making well, because we tend to overestimate the benefits and underestimate the harms of treatment, we can reduce costly and risky treatments by about 20%, because sometimes we find out that that's not actually what people want. Then for people with long-term conditions, and I think really importantly within the conversation we're having today, people should have the opportunity of developing a personalised care and support plan. Only 7% of people at the moment say they've got a personalised care and support plan. So if we're not documenting what matters to people, if we're not starting to look holistically at their lives, looking at all the things that they need support with, all the things that they can bring and they can do by themselves, how can we start effectively delivering care? So personalised care and support planning, I think, is the key gateway to some of the options here. Beyond that, we're wanting to significantly increase the opportunities for social prescribing. There's some fantastic programmes of work across the country, looking at arts and dementia, looking at supporting people to access sports and leisure activities, looking at giving people the opportunity to connect with the natural environment. And we're seeing that best practice grow considerably. And work by colleagues in this room on arts and dementia has found some groundbreaking opportunities to really find what matters to people and really connect them much more effectively with their own care. We've also wanting to extend the opportunity that we've got to connect people with the voluntary sector and connect people with activities in their community that are local to them. And one of the commitments that we've made within NHS England and Improvement is to put in a network of link workers across primary care networks. So every general practice will have the opportunity of connecting people through a link worker to those activities in the community. And we're going to be putting in a network of 1,000 link workers over the next 2 years, which will be fully funded, increasing to about 4,500 people over the next 5 years. And I think those link workers and social prescribing are going to be really key to how we can support people more effectively. Increasingly, on the right-hand side at the bottom, we're seeing the opportunity of personal health budgets to support people with dementia. There's only been a small number of people that have benefited so far. Nationally, we now have 54,000 people benefiting from the personal health budget, and we think there's a lot more that we can do to provide people with the full choice and control over their care services through a personal health budget to enable them to determine how they're supported in the system. And the middle box is about the key here, increasing the skills, knowledge and confidence that people have to live the lives they want to lead. And I think there's a real opportunity through health coaching, through peer support, through opportunities, through social prescribing, through personal health budgets, to really create the opportunity for people to achieve the outcomes that they're wanting to achieve. So the personalised care model, comprehensive model, linked with the support of the Alzheimer Society and the work that we're doing jointly, we've been really, really grateful. And I think there's a great opportunity, as I say, breaking down those barriers, looking at how we can work together to really crack this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our final speaker for the first half of this event today, we have Alistair Burns, National Clinical Director for Dementia for the NHS England and Improvement. Over to you, Alistair.
Thank you very much indeed. It's great to be here. I was a bit worried what photograph you had of me. I usually put up the one of George Clooney, and it works well. Great. It's always a risk going last. Ronald, thank you very much for an inspirational start to things. And Jeremy, thank you for emphasising how important and game-changing this event is. And James, thanks very much for reminding us you get the answer you want the way you pose the question. So thank you very much indeed. In terms of Twitter, Ian, I've been called a lot on Twitter, and Shibley, you've been a Twitter friend of me for some time, so it's very helpful to have you as the introduction. I think it's fair to say we've achieved an enormous amount over the last few years of dementia, and everyone in the room has been involved in that. Whether we look at the awareness of dementia, looking at the issue of diagnosis, and Jeremy, you emphasised the importance of a timely diagnosis, the huge amounts of effort and energy now going into research, including the Dementia Research Institute, the reduction in the use of antipsychotic drugs, which were prescribed a lot, and post-diagnostic support. So a huge amount has been achieved. But I think this is about looking ahead and looking at the challenges, and I think the network today gives a really fantastic opportunity to take things to the next step. And I think personalisation, as James has emphasised, is really important and absolutely key. Jeremy, you mentioned the I statements. These were things that we developed with a couple of people in the room a number of years ago. And I think they were simple to begin with. And in fact, we adapted them from the model of cancer, who very simply articulated what people needed for cancer. And thank you and everyone in the room who's been involved in taking them to the next step. And we now have the we statements. In terms of other initiatives, something that we have done over the last little while is looking at what we call the wellbeing pathway, and really emphasising the personalised nature, from preventing well, diagnosing well, supporting well, living well, and dying well. And I think from each of these we can be aware of the personalised nature. For example, we know that the vast majority of people do not realise you can reduce your individual risk of developing dementia by looking at, say, vascular risk factors. That's very individualised. We know the issue of the diagnosis is very important, but then that is very individualised as well. And many people in the room have experience of it has to be done just at the right time, and that was what we were trying to do when we developed the issue of a timely diagnosis. In terms of supporting well, that individualised person-centred support, James, it's great to hear that with all the enthusiasm of the Long Term Plan, that dementia is key to that personalised care. Living well, and again, that's the reason we're here. And Ian, thank you on behalf of everyone for the huge amount of work that you and your colleagues do in raising the profile. And finally, dying well with dementia. For many people around the room, I know that's really important, that individual wishes. And I think we're making great strides in terms of people dying in the preferred place of residence. But it's about moving forward, and it's about using the next steps. And I think this today is extremely important. And we in NHS England and NHS Improvement look to working with you and to learning from you about things for the future. One of the many things I was taught was when you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. And that individual and personalised response, I think, is extremely important. but everyone is an individual, and I remember a story that my father told a few years ago to emphasise the individual nature of things. He was in his late 80s, and he was still playing golf, but his eyesight was going, and he wasn't sure what to do. So he went, and he was getting a bit awkward. So in the golf club, he put a notice to say, "Is there anyone that could go round with me?" So someone came up, and it was quite an elderly man, and he came up, and my dad said, "What age are you?" He says, "I'm 96. He said, "Wow." But no, it's okay. He said, "I'm 96, but I've got 20/20 vision. I know exactly where things are." Dad said, "Oh, fantastic." So we started off, and I hit the ball, and he said, "Are you able to see that?" The guy says, "Yep, I can see it perfectly." So they walked on, they walked, and Dad was saying, "Are you going to tell me where the ball is?" He says, "I've forgotten." So in terms of that individual nature, and I think it's a great event today, and it's great to be part of this, and as you said, Jeremy, it really will take things forward to the next stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alison. Well, can I just remind you folks that we are being live streamed today by John Popham there, that's John there with all his joys, who needs just 53 more subscribers to his YouTube channel to reach the vital 1,000 mark. So please search for John Popham, Popham UK on YouTube and subscribe, and you'll find lots of interesting stuff. Right, we're going to be taking a short break now. Should we show, because we're ahead of the time, should we show one little film now? Yeah. Right? There's a care home called Landermeads in Nottingham. I was speaking at a conference in Doncaster, and two of the women that work there, who were amazing, kidnapped me and said, "We want to take you back to Landermeads because all of our folks will love what you're about." And so that's what they did. So I spent a day a week in Nottingham. For Dementia Action Week, we thought we'd get some dementia experts to make a film. Now, I've got some dementia experts in this room, but you get weekends off. You might have 5 weeks holiday and bank holidays. The people on this film don't. They live it 24/7, 365, 366 if it's a leap year. So, we thought we'd make a film. Could we make it black and white and sad with like Adele Coldplay style piano in the background? No, that's to be filmed later. We thought, let's make it vibrant. Let's make it colourful. Because their lives are vibrant and colourful. And they are characters. And they are individuals. And they are dancers and they are singers. And do you know what? They don't get the words right. I played this film and someone said, oh bless. Oh bless. They went, that gentleman at the end, he's got the words wrong. Show of hands in here. You sing a song in the car. How many of you get the words wrong? Show of hands. Oh yeah. For years I was listening to the Police singing Sue Lawley. Right? We've all got it wrong. This is a film made by the people living with dementia, their families, their friends, the people who care for them. It's called Please Listen. We made this in a shed. A shed. I'm not joking yet. A shed. Took a lot of editing. And I think it was all worth it. This is Jean. Jean's magnificent. Over to you, Jean. Oh. Does that have to play? How do you click it? Yeah.
Come on, so what are you messing about?
When dementia comes along, it affects family, friends and everyone.
To only see someone's dementia is like talking to their shadow and ignoring them. At whatever age, feelings matter most.
Always open the door to a new conversation.
We need to show people just how much they matter.
Ask yourself, how would you like to be treated? It's not about dementia, it's about people.
I don't work with old people, I work with amazing people.
I was scared of dementia first, but it only lasted for about a week, maybe 2 weeks. So I just became me.
Please celebrate what I can do. Don't keep going on about what I can't do.
If we want dementia-friendly communities, we need dementia-friendly people.
Don't touch me if you're in a queue. I'll go in my own time.
You just want to watch old films? Neither do I. Sound of Music, Go with the Wind, My Fair Lady, all the bloody time.
People switches if we don't know them, so just ask.
Don't shout at me.
We don't see dementia, we see Jean, and Jean is an amazing person.
Let me just believe.
If you're going to uproot an 80-year-old tree and plant it somewhere else, you've got to be a very good gardener.
I try to be the person I'd like to care for me.
We weren't put here to exist, we were put here to live.
She's not just another person living with dementia, she's my little sister.
Some days we just need to dance together, sing together and laugh together, as long as we just do it together.
I don't like music, I like my music.
Don't forget, I am young. So thank you for the music. Sometimes my job as a nurse is reminding someone of just who they are.
Everyone is different from one day to the next. Be patient.
If you're dealing with dementia, you're dealing with yourself, you're not dealing with anyone else.
We need to share what works with everyone and share what doesn't work with everyone.
Always be kind.
We should treat everyone with dignity and respect, whether they've got dementia or not.
Magic happens.
When we bring generations together. I know lots of cool stuff she doesn't.
I know a lot of stuff she shouldn't.
It doesn't matter what age you are, dementia is a team game.
We can use people's past to help their present and their future.
Don't talk to the stick. Don't talk to the 90-year-old. Don't talk to dementia. Never forget, she's a dancer. Please listen. Please listen. Please listen.
If all you see is a big word beginning with D,
You're listening in the middle.
Thank you.
Put him off of his brand. Put him off his brand. If you find that on the internet, folks, it's called Please Listen. It's on. You can find it at bigian.co.uk, but you can find it all over Twitter, it's everywhere. Basically, the whole idea of that, it doesn't go like that on the internet. That's because of that laptop being really slow. So it doesn't do that. Folks, next up we have Ian, we have Gemma, and we have Laura. And this is where you go from being human beings to human doings. Because enough of listening to people talk, we're going to crack on and do some stuff together, which is loads more fun. Okay, so over to you, Ian. Thank you very much.
Thanks everybody for the small. Can everybody hear the microphone? No.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Hello, is that better? Yeah. Okay. So this morning we're giving you the context. So why are we all here? What is the policy development? What is the motivation of why we're trying to bring everybody together and to focus on personalisation and doing it? Ian says this part of the session is about the doing. So how are we going to actually progress this and actually make a difference? And the way that we're approaching this in our partnership so far with Alzheimer Society, Coalition for Collaborative Care and the NHS England is to develop the DCAN, and that's what we're going to be talking about for this part of the day. So what is DCAN? The purpose is to get universal personalised care working for all. So we're not talking about something different for dementia, we're not talking about something separate, we're not trying to make dementia something it isn't. We're talking about treating people as people and for people to have a personalised experience of their own health and well-being and lives that they want to live. People with dementia also have diabetes, they also have cancer, they have depression. Carers of people with dementia have a range of other health conditions. So we are talking about people, and I know we keep ramming that message home today, but that really is central to everything that we're about. So our purpose is to look at the universal personalised care model and think and look at it and view it through the perspectives and the diverse range of perspectives of people living with dementia. Our aims, therefore, are to get dementia into the heart of the thinking, the planning and the doing on personalised care and support across health, social care and the voluntary sector and community sector. But also, equally, to get personalisation and a rights-based approach into the heart of dementia policy, thinking and practice. When you look at people and the lives people live and the systems and the healthcare and the support that is in place for people, then quite often we're looking at two different things, two different worlds needing to find a way of working together. So we're looking at a big system level, what the infrastructure is needed, what processes, what systems can be in place to facilitate the sorts of changes that we're looking for. But that needs to be in a way that empowers and respects and delivers a personalised experience for the people, the relationships, and for people who live in the community, but also those who are involved in delivering this stuff through their jobs and through their work. Because it's much more complicated than taking everything apart to its component pieces, although that is important. You need to understand the complexity of people and lives and relationships between people if we're actually going to translate those changes into real progress. The image for communities is deliberately obscure. I'm not expecting you to read it. Because if you look on Google for communities, everything is friendly, smiley, everyone looking in the same direction. And I just don't think that represents what community is. I think it's much more challenging and much more complicated than that. This is actually a map of an individual's life. So not looking at that services, just in conversation about where they feel connected, where they place value. And that's a way of representing that for an individual. The problem, if we don't tie together the infrastructure, the processes, the practice and the policy with the complexity of people's lives, the two come across against each other and they may be pulling in different directions. So what you actually end up in is very little progress and stasis. You're not moving anywhere, you're not moving with the speed that everybody says we need to be moving at. We're finding that that's a challenge. So when we were thinking about the DCAN, and the DCAN is what we make it, so what I'm sharing here is just the thinking that's got us to this point. The emerging ethos and thinking around DCAN is not to be afraid of failure, because if we fail, it means we're trying something new. And if we do something new, then we have an opportunity to learn and try different things and keep improving. So we're not afraid to try a different approach. None of us knows more than all of us, and thanks to Clinton, who's in the room at the back, for making me aware of that particular quote. And that very much is fundamental to our approach around collaboration. There are some big organisations, a very important part to play in this big picture, in this room. But however big and however broad the shoulders are, you're never going to be the whole answer, the whole solution. It's got to be about different perspectives and finding ways together through collaboration of blending that into something that makes sense for a system, but also for each individual that we support. Ask not what DCAN can do for me or what I can do for DCAN. Thanks to JFK for this one. But essentially, that's what this is about. Don't look to the DCAN to be providing answers. We've got lots of ideas and we've got lots of questions. The DCAN is very much about making the most of all the activity that all of you and lots of people outside this room as well are already doing, have already explored, already researching, trialling, practicing and delivering out there. It's about trying to bring all that together into a narrative and a system that makes sense for people. And related to that is you won't add to the pile until we understand the value of what's in the pile. So we're not talking about adding something new all the time. We want to learn and absorb and shape and coordinate and choreograph all the great work that is already being done, planned, or is going to be happening in the future. So really it's around trying to ride the wave of our collective and shared knowledge and experience to make a difference. So all of that really distills into focus on what matters. Whether that's in conversation with an individual, we're trying to work out how best to support them, but equally when we're talking about systems, talking about people delivering this stuff, as a manager, as a leader, as a colleague, it's about having that focus on what's going to work in any situation. And I will close this opening bit about DCAN, sharing this approach, which we developed with the idea that DCAN needs to be more than a think tank, and it needs to be more than a do, and it has to be around thinking and doing. So here we have a staircase, and the focus, you start always on what matters. And if you walk down that staircase using insights, evidence and data to hold on to and shape your passage, It's a way of working out what is it that needs to happen to actually result in change. So if we think around what matters to someone, being respect, community and belonging, one of the interventions, as James shared earlier, could be social prescribing. So then we move down the step and think, okay, so social prescribing and community development is the answer. What enablers, what do we need in place for that to actually be a reality for people? So that could well be funding, it could be around having community development and resource that people can actually be linked into. So once you know what you're trying to aim for, you then need to think, well, what actions need to be taken for us to get there? So it could be around workforce development, make sure that workers understand dementia, make sure that the plans around implementing something like social prescribing is based on co-production and has opportunities for people with dementia to be shaping those plans. And then once you've understood the actions that you need to take to get there, you then need to think, well, who are the people who are going to deliver this? What relationships do we need to build and create to actually work together across the system to make this a reality? Once you walk down the staircase, that's something we can do in a room, it's something we can do in conversation with coffee. It's not something that's actually going to result in change, unless you then walk up that staircase. So go out there and build the relationships, take the actions, ensure the enablers are in place so that the interventions can happen and that people get what matters to them. Finally, I forgot about this slide. Membership, so who is DCAN for? And it's very simple. It's for you, the only proviso being if you're interested in people, dementia, personalisation, or hopefully all three.
Thank you. So I'm just going to take a few minutes now just to kind of explain kind of what our thinking has been over the last few months of kind of coming to a point of having the Dementia Choice Action Network and kind of how we see it moving forward. And as we've heard today, embedding personalised care around dementia is really important. And James mentioned, it was in the Long Term Plan, and we're also we're not doing this just in isolation with dementia. We're looking at other programmes as well. So Ian mentioned that you don't just have one disease or one condition. We're looking at how we embed personalised care with cancer as well, stroke, CBD, lots of other conditions. And each one is taking slightly different approaches and different relationships in different ways. And for me, the Dementia Choices Action Group is very much a very collaborative way that we want to work together. So, we have a small group, we've kind of nicknamed ourselves the DCAN Doers, I suppose. This is kind of built on the delivery team, that's pulling this stuff and driving this stuff together. And you can see from the list there, again, that it's very collaborative. So there's myself, Ian, and Claire. Claire is in the room. Claire, do you want to say hello? Claire is one of our senior managers in NHS England and Improvement overseeing dementia. So we're really getting the steer from an NHS England and Improvement perspective from personalised care and from dementia. And we've got Ian from the Alzheimer Society. We've also got Laura here, who is working with all our partnerships. So C4CC and our partnerships team to really make sure that we include all of our collaborators and make sure that you keep keeping us on task around all of that. We've also got some fantastic people helping us around integration and lived experience, and particularly around, we need some support around communications design and some project management support. And to be quite honest, without all those guys and the team supporting us, we wouldn't have been able to get to today. Without all of that working together. Not one of us alone would have been able to get to this point. So, the way that we see the Action Network, this evolved. We initially saw this as a group, and we thought, oh, that's okay, we can have a meeting. And then when we started going, but we need this person here, and we need that organisation here, and we need representatives, we suddenly realised this is much bigger than a meeting and a group. This is a network. And this actually, we can't do this as a small group. We need to be a network. So the way that we see it is we have a steering group looking at this, which is made up of the delivery team from personalised care and the guys that I mentioned there. We've got people living with dementia on that steering group. We've also got carers sitting on that, and we'll have some hub specialist reps. So if there's a particular theme or an area that we need to, we'll bring that rep into that steering group to make sure that we have that right information on there. So the assembly. So what we're suggesting is that as an assembly, as a wide and much larger group, we can probably meet 2-3 times a year, or actually we've got a chance this afternoon to talk about how we think that might work. We've definitely got 2 large assemblies on the agenda for the coming up. We've got one in November, which what we will do is we will make sure that these have a theme. So the first one in November is around social prescribing, and then we have a date in February. But again, this is very much collaborative. It's about coming together. It's like Ian's already said, it's about people bringing what's already going on out there, sharing, working together, and then making sure that we go out there and walk the walk, that we can implement that in our policies and the work that we're doing. So the hubs. So what we then decided. Sorry. So yeah, so in the assembly as well, again, to make sure this is collaborative, there will be equal spaces for people around that. So we've kind of worked around about 100 people to be at the assembly, where we'll have equal amounts of people living with dementia, we'll have equal amounts of carers, health members, social care members, people from the BCSE sector, and independent members. Plus then, if there's a theme, so for instance on the social prescribing one, we'd have expert panel members to bring that knowledge and information to that. So again, so we're making sure that we're not dominating it anywhere from one side. And then the hubs itself, essentially, are kind of bringing out our priorities and topics of areas that we want to work on. And again, there's some work this afternoon that we want to look at around some of those. And these will then do some deep dives into that area of special interest. And again, it will be very collaborative. It will be around gathering that evidence, that data that's already out there, looking at things that are happening, sharing that. Actually, might even be thinking we need to look at commissioning something around this, or we want to know some more research about that particular area. And they will then report into the assembly meetings and can also support the steering group to make sure that we're driving things forward in the right way. Yep. So, we've kind of been thinking about a few priorities as a bit of a starter for 10, but we didn't want to come today as kind of a blank canvas. However, there is 5 things up there. They are not written in stone. They are not the only things that we think need to be addressed through the DCAN. But just to kind of go through them very quickly, so we really want to make sure that we have lived experience, so some work focusing around that. And especially picking up, I think, from what Jeremy said there around how do we make sure we get the lived experience voice of those that can't maybe articulate as much. And social prescribing, so looking at how we build that into dementia-inclusive communities. Personalised care and support planning, so again, like James said, this is the gateway to a lot of the interventions and the work, and having that really good personalised care and support planning. Research innovation, and then how do we scale and spread this stuff? This good stuff, how do we share that? And like we say, it's probably likely that we'll have a lot more other things that we can share. So that's the bit of the idea of how the process of how we see this working. I'm going to hand over to Laura now, who is going to look a little bit deeper at the possibilities.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm going to keep my bit really brief because I want to make sure we've got plenty of time for the next bit. But as kind of Gemma has outlined, we've done some initial kind of thinking, a start of a 10 in terms of how DCAN can be structured and what the priorities are. But if we're going to be effective as a network and we're all going to work together, then you, everybody in the room, need to own this and you need to have the opportunity to shape it. And that's important. So Ian has obviously outlined what the purpose of DCAN is. We've got a bit of a start for 10 in terms of the priorities, but we need you as members, as a group, to help define and agree what you think the priority focus areas should be, or at least the initial few. So we want you to do a table exercise now in your groups, and you can stay where you are, but we want you to focus on 3 Ps. So we want you to think about the priorities. So is it social prescribing, is it personal health budgets and integrated budgets, is it personalised care and support planning, or is it something else, and what needs to be done in these areas? then we want you to think about what the possibilities are. As a network, as a group of people who've got a commitment to this agenda, what can we achieve for these priority areas? So it's probably wise to, first of all, when you've explored some of the priorities that you think they are, first of all, think about one, and explore what the possibilities and the opportunities are for that. And what assets have we got in the room? What other members and individuals and organisations have we got, and how can we harness those and make the most of those? And what can we do practically, individually, and also collectively for organisations to make some tangible, practical kind of process going forward? And we also want you to take some time to think about the practicalities of the network. So how do we make sure that we are effective, and how do we make sure that we make the change we want to see happen? First of all, have we got the right people in the room? So I'd like to spend a bit of time introducing yourselves on the tables if you've not done so already. And are we missing anybody critical, people or organisations that need to join and be part of this? How should it be structured? So you've heard Gemma talk about the assembly and the idea of having some specific hubs around themes and priority areas, which we can be flexible around, and they may change as priorities change, but is that the right approach? Do you agree with that? Have you got some more ideas? How should we communicate with each other as well? How should we keep in touch, and how can we make sure that when everybody leaves the room today, that we leave with some momentum and we leave with some clear kind of practical actions and next steps, and we can share those with each other and start to take this work forward. So there are a number of different ways we can do that, obviously virtually, through different networks, through Twitter, etc. But we really like your views and your ideas and what you think will work for you as members going forward. And finally, and probably most importantly, how do we make sure that co-production is central to everything that we do, and we involve people with lived experience? So, time-wise, we've probably got just over 30 minutes for this now. You should all have an identified facilitator on your tables. If you haven't, shout up and we will nominate somebody to do that. Half the tables in the room have got some papers and pens already, but I ran out of time at the beginning, so the other half will get those very quickly now before we kind of start. But if you can kind of think about those three areas, and then at the end we'll be asking you to do some kind of quick fire feedback as well. I think, Big Ian, you had a little bit of a suggestion.
Yeah, I have got a suggestion.
Right, I want you to forget. Oh, blooming microphones in this place. Right, I don't need a microphone. I'm a big lad. Right, I want you to forget your job position in many ways, and I want you to forget some of the things that you're going to point out as obstacles to this. I want you to imagine that you're 10, and this is a project, and we're going to say, right kids, this is the problem. This is your nana, right? This is your Andy. This is your next door neighbour who used to go around and play pairs with and dominoes, and now they don't know, how to do it. How are we going to solve it? I've never met a 10-year-old who said, let's factor in 12 meetings. No. Think about that thing that kids have got. Kids look at a tree and they decide if they can climb it by climbing it. Grown-ups look at a tree and go, big tree. So if we can harness some of that, and remember that we're all kids with different dates of birth, I just can't help thinking, if we had a lot of kids in the room and a lot of people who were 80 odd, instead of just the generation in between, I think we'd have a lot more going on here. And so, do us a favour, be 10, will you? Because I think you're amazing at 10. I don't think you're bad now, but at 10, I bet you're at the top of your game. Over to you, people. Thank you very much.